guys, welcome back to the Style and Beauty Doctor here on YouTube. And in today's video, which is part of a series that I have where I'm going to be speaking with some skincare industry professionals to help us clear up some misconceptions that are, just kind of popping up here and there. And in today's video, we're going to be speaking with Dr. Alexis Stephens, board certified dermatologist. She has a channel here on YouTube that I strongly suggest you subscribing to. Today, we're going to be talking about some active ingredients and how they pertain to skin of color. Because there's been some chitter chatter about certain ingredients not being great for skin of color. We're going to talk about it, so keep watching. I'm so happy to have Dr. Alexis back on the channel. You guys asked so many questions when I put that post up in my community post about what questions you had for Dr. Alexis, and the questions were just overflowing, so much so that I figured it would be great to have a separate video. So if you missed our video on hyperpigmentation, make sure you check that out. But today we're going to be talking about some actives, and a lot of the actives that you guys asked about will essentially do the same thing, but I think a lot of you guys wanted to kind of figure out which ones might be right for you. So we'll kind of talk through that. I think we should start with the first one, which is Kojic Acid. So what are your thoughts on Kojic Acid, Dr. Alexis?
So specifically the actives were for hyperpigmentation, and most of the actives were truly tyrosinase inhibitors. So Kojic Acid is another tyrosinase inhibitor. I think that you need to be very careful with Kojic Acid because while it can get rid of hyperpigmentation, it can also cause some irritation. So usually you want to start slow, like with most things, and you want to patch test. So it can be effective, but you want to try like 1%, 2% at the most, and then make sure that you patch test when you're using Kojic Acid.
I don't know that I've seen, do most medications have a combination of other actives with the Kojic?
Yeah, Kojic Acid is usually used in combination with other ingredients because by itself it's not that potent.
And so Hydroquinone, which I feel we hear a lot of information on. So what are your thoughts on Hydroquinone?
So Hydroquinone is again another tyrosinase inhibitor. It is potent, it is powerful, and it is effective. The problem is that people misuse hydroquinone, and if it is used past its period of time, or if it is used inappropriately, it can actually backfire and can cause something that is called ochronosis, or even just rebound hyperpigmentation. So you have to be crazy careful with hydroquinone, and I really wouldn't advise that people use hydroquinone on their own. If you're gonna use it, go ahead and use it under the direction of a professional.
Is there like a certain time frame that people should use it? Like I feel like I've heard 2 months on and then take a break.
Yeah, you're exactly correct. So if you're going to use it, you do want to do like a 2 months on, take a break. But again, you want to do it under the direction of a professional just because it's so finicky. So many patients, so many of my patients have come in basically worsening hyperpigmentation from HQ. So if you can, choose a different topical, but if you're going to do it, make sure that you're doing it under the direction of a professional.
From my experience, just based on the comments and the questions that I've gotten over the years, I do find that sometimes people do misuse active ingredients, and that kind of, sorry guys, I gotta call you out. Like sometimes that does affect the results and what happens when you use certain ingredients. Alpha Arbutin.
So alpha Arbutin is a great alternative for hydroquinone, because it is more of a gentle giant. While still extremely effective, it's more gentle. It's basically a derivative of HQ, but it gets rid of the things that you have to worry about, which is that rebound hyperpigmentation or the ochronosis. Those are no longer a factor when you're using alpha Arbutin. So I think it's a great choice. It's a good alternative.
Azelaic Acid. I feel like we're hearing a lot about Azelaic Acid.
Yeah, we are. So Azelaic Acid has finally become like a superstar because everyone is now talking about Azelaic Acid. It's been around forever. It's an extremely old ingredient, but for whatever reason, people are now making it more popular. I think it's brands like The Ordinary who kind of have Azelaic Acid more accessible to people because it used to really just be prescription. So I think that's also why it's becoming more popular, but I love it. I use it every single day, and it's very good for people who are pregnant or nursing. So I think it's a great staple, and it does work as a tyrosinase inhibitor, but there's other properties that make it very beneficial for people who have hyperpigmentation or even just acne. It's really good for rosacea too. So if you have like red marks, it's good for that as well.
Is this one of the ingredients that you would use in combination with something else? Like if someone's using the ordinary, and we talked about this briefly in the other video. Can you use, what should you use with the azelaic acid if you're getting rid of, if you're trying to treat acne and PIH at the same time?
So it depends on your season of life. If you're pregnant, there's not much else you can use other than the azelaic acid. But let's say that you are not and you're really trying to get rid of acne. You want to also compare it like a retinol. So you can use tretinoin, which is prescription, or you can use retinol or retinaldehyde, which is over the counter. You would want to separate the ingredients, but you can use both of them because they both fight both acne and PIH, so they work well together in the same routine, but just not at the same time.
Okay, and by that you basically mean to alternate usage. So maybe 2 nights a week you use the retinoid and then the other nights you use the azelaic acid, right?
Yep, or you could do one in the morning and one at the night.
Okay, so alternate usage, guys, and we have some information on that. I'll link it in the description box as well. Retinol, I feel like I've heard some stuff about retinol and certain types that skin of color should look for. Is there some truth to that?
So yes, retinol, first, it's magic. And everybody who can be using it should be using it. But you want to be careful because retinol is very strong. So you have all the way down to just the easy over-the-counters that are not very potent, like the retinol palmitades. And then you have the extremely potent, like the Tranexamic Acid, that you have to get from a doctor with a prescription. You have to be really careful because if you have sensitive skin and you cause too much irritation, your irritation will lead to more hyperpigmentation. So I always would recommend that you start with something very slow, especially if you're just going over the counter. There's the 0.05, the 0.1, there's so many different variants. So I would actually just stick to one brand so that you can easily titrate up. You know that you're starting with their lowest retinol and then you can move up as you feel appropriate with your skin.
And I think that's a great point because I feel like people try to rush through their skin.
It's true.
And people don't realize that sometimes it's like slow and steady wins the race.
You got it.
But also there are things that people can be irritated to, and taking it slow and working your way up is probably a better way to kind of mitigate some of that.
Yeah, and I commonly tell people to do the sandwich. So you will do a moisturizer sandwich when you're starting a retinol to really try to minimize any irritation. This means putting moisturizer on first, using a pea-sized amount of the retinol, dotting it all around your face, and then putting another layer of moisturizer on top. So you literally made a sandwich. Moisturizer, retinol, moisturizer.
Back in my 20s, I got prescribed probably Retin A, and man, it tore me up.
Yes, it can.
You know, when you're in your 20s, sometimes your goals in life are a little bit different. It cleared up the acne. Now in my 30s, I'm gonna be 40 next year. I need as gentle as possible. I need to kind of ease things into my routine. So Tranexamic Acid, I think that's another one that we're starting to hear more about. So what are your thoughts on that for skin of color?
So Tranexamic Acid, or TXC, is an ingredient I absolutely love. It's very effective and it is something that is more gentle. So I tend to use it a lot with my patients. What people don't know is that Tranexamic Acid can also be taken orally by mouth. So if you are seeing a provider and you're not getting enough relief with your hyperpigmentation or your melasma, you may want to just ask them about TXC. Not every doctor does it, but if you're just looking for like a topical over-the-counter version, it can be effective, but you definitely need to combine it with other ingredients because that percentage over-the-counter, I think the highest over-the-counter is 3%. You're not going to get quite as effective results if you were doing it in combination with something else than if you just tried to do it by itself.
So another ingredient that people ask about is vitamin C and how that pertains to skin of color, but especially at what time should you use it? Because I've heard that vitamin C is great to use certain forms of vitamin C are great to use during the day, and that coupled with sunscreen is like a great combo. But again, a lot of things are geared towards skin that's not ours. So what are your thoughts on vitamin C?
So You guys asked really great questions, and I love vitamin C, so you're picking really good ingredients. I think that everyone should be using vitamin C for a lot of reasons. Mainly, it's antioxidants. You don't have a lot of true antioxidants with good clinical research showing the really great advantages, and vitamin C is one of those that you do have good data to actually back it up. So I think that vitamin C is really important to incorporate into your routine. Whether you do it morning or night is really going to be dependent on the person. I personally add my vitamin C in the morning because that's when I'm trying to fight off those free radicals and all of the other pollutants and UV rays and all of the other things that damage your skin in the daytime. Remember, it's a protectant. So that is why I add it in the morning to help me protect all of those Florida UV rays that I have to induce, even just driving to work. But a lot of people use it at nighttime because they don't like to use actives in the morning. So it just depends on which doctor or which professional you ask during the daytime or the nighttime. But I like it in the day.
So glycolic acid is another ingredient that I'm hearing a lot about lately, that I've even heard that some people say it's not great for skin of color. What are your thoughts on glycolic?
So I like glycolic acid. You just have to be extremely careful with glycolic acid. So glycolic acid is a very small molecule, meaning that it moves very quickly and it can actually zoom through the skin. And when you're moving that fast, you can cause irritation, you can cause burning, you can cause what is called hot spots. So if that happens, you're going to end up with more hyperpigmentation, and that's not very desirable. So you want to go with something that's going to be effective, but still gentle enough where you're not going to have those hot spots. So you're looking to use a concentration that doesn't need to be neutralized, which over the counter is really going to be like 5%. Sometimes you can get up to 10%, but I would recommend that you start lower and you really just go with a patch test first to make sure that your skin is going to receive the glycolic acid well.
And then Mandelic and Lactic. I kind of think of them as like the little baby cousins of the AHAs. What are your thoughts on those?
They're great. Mandelic acid is something that I use almost every week, but all of these acids need to be used with caution. Their whole point is to exfoliate and remove skin or slop off dead skin. You don't want to do that too aggressively. So starting with a Mandelic, making sure your skin really likes it, tolerates it well, then maybe moving to a Lactic, and then finally a glycolic would be another way to do that as well.
Now, not that this has been brought up, but sometimes I feel like I can sense like people about to do something wrong. Should people use multiples of these acids in their routine? I feel like when it's in a formulation that, you know, whoever formulated the product knows what they're doing with what they put in the product, typically. But I feel that we're in the ordinary culture where I think people get confused with what needs to be layered and using multiples at the same time. Are there certain things that you should not use these acids with? Can they be used together? And what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so definitely you have to keep in mind that the great majority of products on the market, meaning like 99% of them, were not formulated with anyone with skin of color in mind. And so while the marketing in the back of the packaging will say exfoliates and smooths and all of those other good things, they're not going to really tell you that, oh, this percentage is not great for anyone with a deeper skin tone or richer in melanin. So you may end up with post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation or dark spots if you go with one of these combination products. So I highly recommend not going with a combination like AHA product and just trying just one at a time, slowly, like we just talked about, to make sure that your skin is going to tolerate it well.
All right, so fragrance. How bad is fragrance in a product for skin of color?
So I feel like this is coming up a lot lately. And fragrance in general is not recommended by dermatologists just because we see the worst cases come into our door. So as a board certified dermatologist, I'm going to tell you to choose products that are fragrance free because of the fact that they cause irritation, and some people develop an allergy or sensitivity to not only the fragrance but the other ingredients that have been formulated with that fragrance. It's not worth the risk when you can just get the same ingredients that don't have the fragrance in there. So that is my board certified dermatologist answer for you.
So the focus of today's video was more on the questions that you guys had about active ingredients, and a lot of these were, you know, the actives that you'll see that are used to treat post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. Dr. Alexis Stephens' channel goes very much in depth on hyperpigmentation, and she has some amazing videos, so make sure you check those out. Just want you guys to also remember that when you're treating post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, that it's a holistic approach. You have to make sure that you're properly cleansing, that you're exfoliating, and that you're wearing sunscreen. That the sunscreen, definitely a non-negotiable, and we talked about that more in our previous video with Dr. Alexis, so make sure you check that out. I will leave information where you can follow Dr. Alexis. She's here on YouTube, she's on Instagram, and I'll leave information on the other social platforms that you can find her. If you're in South Florida, she has a practice in the Parkland area. I will leave information about that in the description box as well. Follow me on social, because when I'm not here on this channel, I'm elsewhere on the internet spreading my cheer, and I'll see you fine folks in my next one. Bye guys.